I'm Glo Butler, and welcome back to Undefining the Pod, the show where we unpack identity, creativity, and the messy in betweens of figuring it all out. This podcast is all about breaking away from the boxes we've been put in through real talk, storytelling, and just letting people be their full selves. Today's episode is called Undefining Creativity When Life Feels Like a Sketch. I'm joined by the incredibly talented Joseph Lymous. Joseph is an actor, comedian, puppeteer, truly a creative Swiss Army knife. We're talking about how he's navigated and redefined what creativity looks like for him, especially in the moments where life felt like a sketch comedy bit than a grounded reality. Let's get into it. All right. So, you guys, today I'm joined by someone who's done it all: acting, comedy, puppeteering, and shaking his ass on Beyonce's Instagram stories. Joseph Lymous is a Black, queer, New Orleans born, New York based actor, comedian, puppeteer, and producer. In 2024, Joseph was cast in the Tim Robinson HBO pilot, The Cheer Company, and was invited to perform in the Netflix Is a Joke Festival in LA. Joseph is a 2023 Paramount CBS Showcase alum and a 2021 Just for Laughs new face of comedy. And I am not done yet, okay? You can see him on the other two on HBO or on Max. Aquafina is Nora from Queens on Comedy Central, as well as performing live sketch comedy at the UCB Theater and with his sketch comedy team, Uncle Function. His work as a puppeteer spans from the stages of the Metropolitan Opera House to the sets of Dying for Sex on FX and Hello Tomorrow on Apple TV. Joseph is currently developing his original TV series with Georgie Echo and Abominable Pictures. And as exciting as this all is, he mostly wants to be remembered for that time Beyonce shared a clip of him shaking his ass on her Instagram stories. Now that's that basically y'all go together after that stuff go down.
That's what people think. People really do think we go together, but
Right?
we
Because
don't
of
go
that, be
together
like, you be
like
all up in
that.
her stories and stuff.
Yeah, they thought I knew her. They really
Like
thought I
your
knew her.
cousins.
Yes.
Oh my
That's a
gosh.
mouthful. Thank you. Thank you for all that.
Of course. And so how I want to ask you how you're doing today. How has this new year been treating you so far? For those who don't know, we're filming this or recording this in February. So how's things been going? We had a rough January. How is life?
I mean, January is about 3 years long. And
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
every year it gets 1 year longer. And it's
Facts.
crazy because it's February 7th today, and I feel like this week has flown by. So,
Yes.
like, I get the crazy winter blues every year, and I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why I don't remember that I get it, but I get
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
every year. But
Mm-hmm.
I came out of it like last Monday or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Like, I booked a job, and I was like, okay, there's a world out there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then it came back a little bit, but like February, Black History Month, I'm feeling a little better about
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. You got people trying to take it a little away from us, but I'm like, I think that we remember the times before we were even educated on anything Black in schools during Black History Month, where like we had to go to the church or like our parents had to teach us about Black history. So what they trying to do right now, what they are and not doing, and trying to recognize these holidays, we've been living this our entire lives. You know what I'm saying? I was like, you can't
Absolutely.
break our soul with that, you know?
Not at all. Like Juneteenth is new to y'all, but we've been celebrating
Yes.
that since I was a little
True to
baby boy,
this.
since my grandmother was little, you know?
True to this,
Yeah, yeah. We don't need
See,
federal acknowledgement to know that it's
thank
real.
you. Thank you. You can't tell me how Black I am. All right. All right. So I want to dive into sketch. I know you have a really thick sketch background. So comedy and sketch writing rely on structure, but life is unpredictable. Has there been a moment where you had to throw out the script and improvise completely?
Um, yeah. I think that that happens just like in our field all the time, like in just
Mm-hmm.
in general and work as an actor. But the story that comes to mind is one that I really don't tell a lot. But I
Mm-hmm.
used to be low-key a missionary in my early 20s.
Oh,
One of my best friends' father, he owned a nonprofit called Mission Possible.
oh,
Um,
interesting.
and we would travel around the world
Yeah.
building orphanages and like teaching theater and dance. And I got the opportunity to go to South Africa 3 times.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was incredible. It was my first time going to the motherland. Um, And the first time I was there, I think I had a really clear image of like what that was supposed to look like, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
moon was supposed to be behind one of those big old African trees, and
Mm-hmm.
like a lion was supposed to greet me, and then like my people
Yeah.
was gonna come and be like, "Welcome home, we gonna keep you,"
No, like
like
just like the movies, just like they show you the
you know
Lion
what I'm
King.
like coming to
Yeah. There
Africa.
you go. Exactly.
But it wasn't like that at all. Not at
Yeah.
all. So our goals were just kind of like to meet young people, and it wasn't really a heavy-handed missionary group where we like were like handing out pamphlets or like praying for strangers or like trying to beg people to follow Jesus or whatever. We
Mm-hmm.
just were hanging out with young people, teaching theater,
Mm.
teaching dance, and playing in fields with children.
I love that.
And very early on, this like group of like, I don't know, preteen boys heard me talking and they were like, wait, are you from America? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, oh, so you're a nigger. And I was like, oh, wait,
Yo.
hold
Okay.
up. No. What? Wait, where did you hear that word? Like,
Right.
where's that
What's
coming from?
right.
And they were like, oh, we know it from music. We know it from hip hop. We know
Mm-hmm.
that like black folks in America are niggers because that's what you call yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
so very quickly, this whole trip turned from like me thinking like, oh, I'm here for the Lord, or I'm here to like
Yeah.
share these types of stories with these types of people. And it
Mm-hmm.
became like a every day for like 2 weeks sit down circle where I was like this. I felt like I was about to be a leader in facilitating things,
Yeah.
but I was actually being facilitated and like learning about how
Interesting.
they live life and me sharing with them the story of the lineage of the word nigga and like
Yeah.
how we have taken it back, but it was a word that was used against us and whatever. Like
Yeah.
my whole experience just flipped and it became way more of a like a sit down shared experience than this like lion running in the jungle,
Of course.
welcome home moment that I thought it was going to be. So yeah, very
Yeah.
different script, very different
And
script.
it's so amazing how what part of like your identity that you're able to you think you know yourself, you know what I mean? But in a situation like that, like because you have like these missionaries that go out there, go to different countries or different parts of the world, and you know, they do what they're supposed to do, like just go and maybe do a few projects and stuff like that. But and I've had a coworker that has gone to a mission, like a white woman that went to Africa, and she had a different experience because
They love that.
instead of
White
wearing
women love going to Africa.
they do, and she couldn't. She was wearing what is it? The dashikis.
Oh
She was
no.
instead of scrubs, and
Oh no.
I was like,
Oh
this is not the
no.
part of woke that we need, you know. But I can imagine what that feeling feels like is really connecting with somebody and actually getting also hearing it explained in their perspective or their version and their history of like you guys connecting because this is a part of your history. These are your ancestors too.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I
So I
also want
can
to acknowledge like I don't do that no more, and I
yeah.
understand the white supremacy practices that were involved in the things that I was doing in my
Oh,
early
okay.
20s. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? Like that
Yeah.
whole concept is just steeped in white supremacy and like purity
Yeah.
culture and like how we're supposed to be and who we are. So,
Yeah.
but that was one of those moments that really the script really did flip, and I came back and I was like, okay, this is we're not gonna do this no more.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is really interesting. So what I would say when were you introduced to sketch comedy and when where or acting in general, like what part of life was it where because I just feel like you're just so talented and I feel like
Thank
that's just
you.
something maybe since you were a baby you just like knew, but when was that point where you realized of what you should be doing and what your meant or your purpose for
Yeah.
comedy and sketch and all this? Yeah.
So the first thing I ever did on stage was I at like 3 or something like that. My grandmother
Mm-hmm.
was a preschool teacher and I wasn't in her class, but she was doing a Christmas play
Okay.
and they needed somebody to play Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and all the kids were like scared, but I was just like very stoic and chill and like, oh,
Yeah.
you put the red nose on me, like I'm gonna just sit here and do it. And so the very first photo of me on stage is me as Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer as like a
Mm-hmm.
3-year-old. But then
Mm.
it turned into like, doing plays in school, community centers, things like that. But yeah, I think watching Little Shop of Horrors
Mm-hmm.
on VHS
Mm-hmm.
was maybe a moment for me where I was like, oh, watching Tashina Arnold, Tisha Campbell,
That's a good
like
one.
just
Yeah.
kill. And my
Mm-hmm.
mom explaining to me, like, they get paid to do this, right? And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, wait. they playing pretend and dancing and singing and doing all this stuff, and like this is a
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, and I was like, well, I'm done. I'm playing pretend for the rest of my life. Like this
Yeah.
is what I will be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my mom was kind of into it as well. She like
I like
did
that.
a bit of musical theater.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and is just a clown. Like I always say, like I don't know nobody funnier than the people in my family. Just
Yeah.
and I'm sure you know that as Black people, like our families are
Yes.
just funny.
Yeah.
So innately, when it was time for me to audition for something that was gonna be a comedy role, like I
Right.
had my uncles
You're
and my cousins and
all in
all
your
their blood
blood.
up in
Right.
me.
Right.
So
Right.
it wasn't even like I was stretching myself. This was just
Mm-hmm.
automatically gonna be a part of
Natural.
who I am. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now cut the
Yeah.
check.
Exactly. Thank you. And I'm glad your mom, was able to explain that to you because, I think it all depends on like, what our parents know and things like that. And I don't think that for me, it was almost like treated as a joke if you decided to do something like that or be in a play. They're like, there's no money. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is like when you're walking in and as an artist, you have to kind of real detach from okay, how I know I can get paid doing this, but how much money, just kind of like I know at some point I'm going to get paid to do this, but there's a lot more that you have to do before you get to that point.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah, and what did that journey feel like for you? Was it one of those moments where you're just like, okay, finally Beyonce is like retweeting or like reposting or like what did that feel like for you?
Um, it's been a very long game, but it's been a game that I never saw another option for. Like
Mm,
there was just never ever for me since I was probably like 6 or 7. I never thought there was going to be anything else that I was going to do. And
right.
even over the years, there was just no other options for me. There's
Mm-hmm.
so like random fact, I was 15 when I found out that the dad that I was living with wasn't my real dad.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
rough.
Real
Mm-hmm.
change the script type situation.
Mm-hmm. Your
But
life is a script. Yeah.
fully. But then he came around, my biological father came around and like automatically had ideas about how he was going to teach me how to be a man. And one of
Okay.
them was that he needed to like encourage me that this career path wasn't really one that I should take. That like,
Interesting.
okay, you need to figure out what you need to do to make money as a
Yeah.
man because a man has to take care of his household, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And for me, like I already knew that I was going to do this, and that was just fuel. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, this new person, this new blood relative of mine is in my life trying to tell me that I can't do the thing that I said I'm gonna do. Watch
Mm-hmm.
this,
Mm-hmm.
and also watch this. And
Yeah.
it has been a long journey, but I have gotten to the point where I can make a living off of my art
That's
and the
good.
things that I
Yeah.
love doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always easy, and it's not every
Mm-hmm.
day. It's like there is times where it's great, and
Mm-hmm.
then there's times, most of the time, where I'm just waiting on checks.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you feel like how you defined success has changed based off of like your creativity and like your level of what that looks like success? Because I could say you look like you were successful way before, you got maybe like your first TV gig and stuff. Like I'm sure you were doing plenty of things that kept you driven and kept you going and kept your name on people's rosters and stuff like that because that's the next level up is,
Right.
getting these bigger gigs and stuff like that. So how has just your level of success just changed over time from that? Despite what your father, and all that stuff
Yeah.
said, yeah.
I think I mean, I'm saying this as somebody who like has called it a long game and like it's I'm finding my success as I get older.
Okay. I like
But
that.
I think that when I was young, I think I had a very capitalistic idea of what success looked like. I
Mm-hmm.
used to imagine like having like this mansion and like at
Oh,
the beginning of this long driveway of this mansion I was gonna have my last name written in flowers. It was just gonna say Limus like written in flowers, and
oh,
then
I
you
like that.
drive through and I'm gonna have giraffes on the side as
Of
you drive down the
course.
drive, you know what
Of
I'm
course.
saying, like
Very on
all that.
brand. Right.
Yeah, yeah. And that's just kind of what I imagined, but I think that that was like, my young imagination running away with
Mm-hmm.
me. But as I've gotten older, what I realize is like building a home, having healthy relationships, and like knowing what I want and who I am within
Mm-hmm.
myself
Mm-hmm.
is already a success.
Yeah.
And then after that, the money from doing the thing that I love
Mm-hmm.
becomes an afterthought. And
Yes.
that's really like the confidence that I walk into spaces with, both
Yeah.
in pitches when I'm pitching TV shows and also just auditions, that like
Yeah.
you really can't tell me no hard enough to make me
Mm-hmm.
feel bad, because at the end of the day, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go back to my house that
Yeah.
I've made feel good for me,
Yes.
and my
Yes.
man is gonna be there and he gonna have cooked
Yes.
something, you know?
Yes. Yes.
And so it really has flipped from this like kind of like, I don't know what it's gonna be, but I bet it'll have giraffes, to like, I just
Yeah.
got some giraffe art.
Yeah. It
And
just looked different. It's just,
it,
I
it
mean,
just
it's like,
looks
am I,
different.
because I mean, number one, the city you live in currently, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I mean, what
No,
it,
if I lived in a different city, I probably would have a
you
little
would definitely
mansion. Like
have
for
your
the
little,
rent that I'm paying.
please, you better buy you some giraffes with the leftover coins. But
Yes,
you know, and,
yes.
and I get that because I look at life and I'm just like, man, and number one, I probably couldn't even imagine that I was in New York City, that I would, anything would bring me here, but I mean, I could imagine, how life can just reshape and just say, it's not that it's a bad thing. It just looks different. Like your
Yeah.
giraffes are in a different location. And that doesn't mean your places, because your place from the background, me being nosy, you have a lot of great art back there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got extra bedrooms. I
And
do.
yeah,
I do. And
yeah,
not that
yeah.
I don't want to be rich and have more.
Exactly.
I do imagine more, but I
Exactly.
am so satisfied where I am right
Exactly.
now.
As long
Yeah.
as happiness, that's what
Yeah.
success looks like. Because so many
Absolutely.
people can have so many things and not be happy, just be
Yeah.
miserable as hell. Um, so I want to really dig into a little bit, or just ask you about how your identity as a person versus like you as an artist, how are those two things and when did they come together? Because I know a lot of times there could be artists out there that might not be, if they're queer or if they're whatever, if there's something that they're holding. I think comedy definitely helps bring if it helps manifest that and make it a part of our identity so that we can be exactly who we choose to be and want to be. So how are those things, and did that take time for the two and two to go together where like you could really live truthfully, or like, sometimes with, and this is the longest question, my bad.
No, no, you're good. I'm
But
with you.
because with men, I say with men, especially in the entertainment industry, there's like this image of just how you're supposed to be. You know what I mean? And I don't know if you're a millennial. I feel like you are a millennial.
I barely made it, baby.
Barely
I
made it.
barely made it.
You there by hair,
Just
but
a little bit.
you understand the moments where, yeah, it could be cute now to be queer and to be artists, and everybody wants but how was that journey been like for you? Like, what did that look like for you?
Yeah. So as far as identity, first and foremost, I identify as someone from New Orleans, which automatically like
Mm-hmm.
sets me apart from a lot of people as far as
Yes.
being an artist. The
Mm-hmm.
way we tell stories, the way we cook, the way we laugh, the way we do family and community is just
Yeah.
completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was just already naturally in me. And that part was okay.
Yeah.
The part that was not okay was that my father was in the military. The father that I grew up with was in the
Yeah.
military, and then I was always the young, small framed, queer coded new kid at every school that I went to. So then I was bullied.
Mm-hmm.
And then realized that if I can make my bullies laugh, that they
That
wouldn't
part.
hit me. So
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, so that's a little mashup that like
Yeah.
that puts a little band-aid on that and also gives
Yeah.
me fuel for the thing that I want to be doing.
Right.
And then when I came out, it was not okay with my family.
Oh,
Yeah, it was a hard time. I was like
okay.
14 going on 15, and my mom found me in the bed with this boy who
See, that's
was a
all you
senior and I
see.
was a
If
junior,
that's the
and
way I found out, I'd be a little mad too, because I don't even want to see nobody in the bed together like that.
we wasn't naked, we
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
naked.
But
It
y'all
was
were,
like, yeah. So
yeah,
the game was we would sleep over because we was homies. You know what I'm saying? We was
yeah,
homies and we was doing a sleepover on the weekend. And
yeah.
the game was that he would take the bed. It was a twin bed, and then I would set an alarm in the morning and get up out of bed at like 5 a.m. before like my
Oh,
mom would ever even possibly come around.
yeah.
But I was like sick at the time and I had taken some cough medicine and the cough medicine didn't let me wake up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still in the bed when my mom came in the room. Because black
Oh,
mamas, when you a
oh,
millennial or
they
a
opening the
lineal,
door.
as they open the door. Yeah. So she opened that door and said, "Good morning." And she hit me with she was like, and then like, come here. And I stepped out and put some clothes on. First of all, we were in boxers. We was in my
Okay.
boxers. I put on some clothes and I was like, "What's up?" And she was like, "Don't you think you and Eric a little too old to be sleeping together?" And I was like, "Yeah, we just passed out. Like ain't nothing going on. We just
Yeah.
passed out type situation." Um, but then she, asked some hard questions that next day, like,
Yeah.
Is Eric gay?" I was like, "I don't think so." And she was like, "Are you gay?" And you can't lie to your mama. So
Yeah.
I busted
Yeah.
out. Anyway, it was a long journey with me. Like she had me talking to pastors, and
Uh,
it was
that.
conversion therapy without the camp and all the fanfare, just
Yeah.
Christian style. Um, and since I have figured out a way
Mm-hmm.
to let her and my family know that there is nothing that they could do to change
Mm.
me from being who I am.
Mm.
That like
That
this
part.
idea that they have of this demon that's up in me,
Yeah.
this demon is making money, honey. Um,
Exactly. Give me coins
just
off of
give me
being gay. I'm just kidding.
coins, yes. Um, and yeah, I think my journey to moving to New York also helped. So
Yeah.
that leaving home and finding an environment in which like I'm living in a city in which everyone is like encouraging you to be yourself
Yes.
really lended itself to me being like, all right, I'm good. Like I'm safe. I can still like be everything that I am and be as loudly queer as I am,
Yes.
and nobody's gonna
Yes.
fucking blink an eye.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, so it was kind of like this kind of accordion moment of like, all right, so I got my New Orleans, I got my queerness, I got like
Mm-hmm.
my identity of like how I want to make art, and that is through
Yeah.
laughter. And it got to a point somewhere around 2016 with the election of Donald Trump the first time,
Mm-hmm.
um, where I was like, oh, looking at the world, hating everything
Mm-hmm.
that I had learned to love. I had
Mm-hmm.
learned to love the shit out of myself
Yeah.
through like hard self-reflection and work
Mm-hmm.
and diving inside of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm staring at my country, who has historically hated everything about me,
Yeah.
saying it out loud.
Yeah.
And I said,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, absolutely not. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're not going like any inches backwards from
Yeah.
here." And that work has just maintained itself.
Yeah.
Um,
I love
I
that.
have a
Mm-hmm.
story of the man who lives inside me, and it's a much longer story than I could tell in this podcast, but
Okay.
it is on my YouTube.
Okay.
If you Google me and look at my YouTube and look up the man inside me,
And I'll put that in the description of this
yeah,
clip right here so that everybody knows where to go to look for it. And it's going to be your
yeah,
handles in there too. So we'll
absolutely.
get to that in a second. I guess my last question that I want to ask is, what is one thing that you've learned, part of your creative journey, that you would tell your younger self, the younger you?
Ooh, wow. Um, you cute.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting it. I was like, oh, this feel like something deep about to happen. The way you were just looking off into the distance.
No, I really think that's
And
it. I mean, there are other things,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
be yourself and all that stuff that people say. Um, but I think that I think I had to undo some looking in the mirror stuff,
Mm-hmm.
especially in this
Yeah.
industry where like your face is the thing and like the
Mm-hmm.
camera is telling every story that you don't want it to be telling when you don't
Yeah.
mean to be telling it.
And
And
you
then
did.
that affects the way you walk into spaces and walk into rooms.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, no, yeah, I'm gonna let that be the answer. I'm trying to think, because that was the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah.
Because it's true. Like I think I'm cute, and it's hard. Like people get weird about people feeling that way about themselves, but I think it's time that we just
We need
say,
to say that.
"You
Like
cute."
that isn't I do that. I don't care
Hmm.
who you are. I do that because I think
That's
that
because you cute.
and that's at least I'm projecting the right things onto them. You know what I
Right,
mean? But
right.
I think that you don't know how many people, and it's not that they're out here seeking that type of like attention, but there are people that they just need to hear that,
Yeah,
and you don't know where they're going to take that advice or where they're going to take that compliment, but you just know that they just needed to hear that. And
yeah.
and being a black, darker tone person, I would just say that I don't know if you could relate, but like that's not something that we were just brought into this world like thinking, oh, you're so cute. No,
Hmm.
unless
We
somebody.
actually do like, oh, you think you cute?
Yeah,
Like
that's the
it's
part.
actually the
It's the
opposite.
other way around. We
Yeah.
ask you like the
Yeah.
questions, and then they
Yeah,
come
like,
out weird.
oh,
Hmm,
you
hmm.
think you cute. I
Uh,
see. And it's like, nah, bitch, I'm cute. That's actually yes.
so yeah, a child does need to hear that, and they need to hear
Mhm.
that because they need to know that no matter what they have or haven't told about themselves yet and what's going to come out in their journey, that they're always going to be cute, they're always going to be loved, they're always going to be beautiful, unless there's some serial killer, and no, you can go F yourself. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's not cute behavior.
right, that's a cute behavior.
Not at
What?
all.
All right. So before I close out and get into talking more about your credit, not your credits, but your social medias and stuff like that, I do want to play a fun game, lighten up the mood a little bit. Although nothing was really sad, I think that when it comes to talking about our lives, there are some parts that aren't going to be cute, And one thing about comedy is at least we have the gift to bring those little issues like to a light and actually laugh about it, because it's
Yeah.
really hard. Most comedians are depressed and sad, you know what I mean? That's where we get.
That's usually how we get here. But
Exactly.
I'll tell you one thing that this is a thing I've learned
Yeah.
is like I feel like with comedians we have a hard time accepting the fact that everything doesn't end in a laugh, especially as stand-ups. Like you're like,
Mm.
wait, there's space. Like, what are these ellipses? What's this underline with nothing written here? Like,
Right.
I need a joke. I need a punchline right there. But
Yeah.
that is definitely something I have learned is like, even as a comedian, even as a self-identified comedian, I'm okay with like saying something, making a statement, and there being no laugh afterwards,
There you
but it
go.
just being food for thought.
Yeah.
That matters to
Yeah.
me too.
Oh, I love that. Leaving on a cliffhanger for like no
Yeah.
reason. You
Just
know,
think about it.
you have improv like background and stuff like that, right? I feel
I
sort of.
I have a complicated relationship with improv.
I
No,
feel I
I
feel that.
I I love that there are more and more black folks trying to black up improv.
That there you go. It
Um
is. I've seen a lot lately.
it's
Yeah.
happening and we love it. We love My Mama's Biscuits. We love, all of these groups Who Made the Potato Salad. Like we love
Yeah.
it. Branded Silk is another group, a black
Mm,
improv group that I love. But I can't do it.
yeah.
It's scary.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary to like I believe that life is one big improv, but as far as like structured improv, it feels a little like it was designed by white people for white
Oh, of
people
course.
and the
Yeah.
like general like references that they understand. And
Yeah.
even when I see black folks doing it, like I love it because then I understand the references and like I
Yeah.
they are doing actual funny characters.
Yeah.
Um, I'm still like I'm not gonna remember none of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
That's
exciting in
facts.
the moment, and I'm
But
like, oh wow, I can't believe they thought of that. But after the show's over, it was like I was stressed out the whole time, hoping that you was gonna say something funny, and then you did, and that's great. But
yeah.
like, can we just eat something and like,
Yeah.
can
I mean,
we write something down and rehearse it, and then like be great at that? I don't know.
that's the
I
kind
don't
of
know.
vibe. I think that improv is just good to, it's nice to have an improv team that you vibe with, but just like the ones that you mentioned. But at the same time, yeah, it's so unscripted and it's so like off the wall that a stand-up comedian bombing is completely different than a person in improv bombing, because you got to
Ooh,
sit there for the rest of the time on
a
stage
whole
and
hour. Ooh, ooh,
you
can we
like
go?
yeah,
Let my people go.
everybody be talking like they just ready to go, like, so get it over with. But man, all right, so we're gonna get into this rapid round. And I like to tell all the viewers, well, viewing and listening at the
All of
same
them.
time, all the above. If you clean in the house right now, if there's a segment right now, is trial and error, and I say that because we're playing different games, but I don't mind repeating them. Since it is a new podcast, if there's something that you like, feel free. I like reviews and I like, advice on stuff, good advice, cute advice. But if there's a segment or a game that I played and you want me to do it again, let's do it again. So let's see what's popular and what's not. All right. So this game right here is called Sketch Your Real Life. I'm going to describe an absurd situation, and Joseph tells me if it actually happened to him, or if it's a sketch, or if it's from a sketch, or both. All right. So if it happened to you, it's from a sketch or both. All right. So the first one is, you've been mistaken for someone famous. and you just went with it.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
That's a real one. Yes. I got mistaken for Future at Gov Ball by this young white man who was like emotional about meeting Future. And he apparently like he like listened to Future with his father. And like they had
Wow.
a connection because of it. And he I already so the only thing that Future and I had in common that day is a hat and
Yeah.
locks. Like that
Right.
was that
I
was
was I was
it.
getting ready to say, I
I
was like,
had a
what?
hat like Future had. But I was being interviewed. Govball was interviewing me and my partner. So it did kind of give like, oh, there were cameras on me and like a team around me. So it gave like, oh, that has to be somebody. He looked at me and he was like, Future. And he like waited next to the camera until the interview was over. And he like just came and hugged me and stuff. And I was like, little boy. Look like in my mind I was like little boy, but then the way he
Yeah.
was like emotional about it, he was like, I told my dad, like I called him, da da da, and I just
That
walked
is
away
so
from it. I
funny.
was like, okay,
I
boo
was like,
boo,
you that's just like those photos where they're just like, I'm gonna say this was Will and Jada, or you know what I mean? Like something
right?
like that.
It's very much
That
not.
is
I look like
got these
Future.
kids out here touching people and giving.
Yes, it was very
That
racist,
is
but I
insane.
did not have time.
Yeah, I
I
would have
just
had
let it.
to.
I was like, go ahead, baby.
Yeah, yeah. Good for you, because I would have handled that a little bit differently. But it's just me. God's still working on me. You know what
Oh
I mean?
no, I have my moments. Oh, I will block a white lady from touching my necklaces. I
It's like,
will.
exactly. It's like, you know
Yeah,
what? Just a little
yeah,
curve game. All right.
exactly.
Um, you've had to explain a joke that absolutely bombed.
Oh, uh,
I mean, if you
wait.
ever had anything that bombed before, that we got to start there. But we can't be out here being like, she doesn't bomb.
Yeah, no, I would say like there. I wouldn't say like I had a joke that bombed, but I did a bit that bombed one time.
Mm.
Uh, and that is real life, not sketch comedy. That is real life. A
Yeah.
motherfucker did bomb in this bit, and I was playing this dog. I don't really love the way dog lovers act in the world. Like they just
Mm.
kind of act like everybody wants to smile at their dog when their dog don't even know if I'm smiling at them or not. Like
Yeah.
you want me to smile at you because you have a dog, and that's your problem.
Yeah. Like babies or something. It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the little doo-doo bags. The little doo-doo bags. I cannot stand these little damn doo-doo bags. It's everywhere. Like
Yeah. It's,
everywhere.
it's it's really sitting on your chest, I feel like.
Oh, I can't take it. But anyway, I did this bit with Matthew Silver at his show, and
Mhm.
I put Mardi Gras beads in little dog doo-doo bags and threw them all around the room. And it was satisfying for me, but the people didn't necessarily love it because they here for their damn dogs and not actual humans.
That is so funny.
Yeah, but it was
Oh my.
fun. It's like, that's my culture.
Yeah,
Mardi Gras
exactly.
beads.
I like how you mix all of what you got going on and the fact that you hate these doggy bags and
Oh
shit,
my God.
God dang. I am sorry for, and there's a show out there called Must Love Dogs that's like where you can bring your dogs. You have to keep them on a leash, but you can
I
bring them,
know. They
and
hit me up
it's
about that.
oh yeah. It's actually cute. It's just, I mean, it ain't no it's just, but I would just say that like there's dogs. It's cute. And the audience is really good at staying, focused on like the comedians and stuff like that because they also are watching their dogs. So like during intermission, that's like the potty break for them. But it's actually a really cute show. Like I hosted it and stuff like that. But it's fun. Like it's like parents who are finally able to take their dog somewhere and go out. But I think you got to be a dog owner to like really understand what
Well,
that
that's the
goes.
thing. Because I was like, actually, the name of this is Must Love Dogs,
And
and
you're
I
like, okay,
kind of like dogs.
yeah, you don't have to have a dog. That's what I'm saying. People are on the show that
Sure,
don't
but it's
have
gonna
any
be
pets.
buku dogs in the audience, and
Yeah.
people
Oh
gonna be
yeah.
like, you're gonna
Yeah.
get a
They
little
gonna
nose snot on your
they're gonna
pants.
yeah.
You're gonna get a little bit
they're
of.
gonna they might sniff you, but I would say the dogs do a good it could, because it's one of those things where there's so many dogs like kind of walking around. I'm trying to make you feel better about this. But you know how they walk around so much, so they're sniffing each other. They might sniff you a little bit, but they dogs don't be like that. There's always
Right.
that one dog that's like okay, but a lot of people in there, because there's so many dogs and people and stuff going on, they keep and like I said, the dogs have to be on a leash now. So
Nice.
before, probably last time you were asked, they could just like float around and walk around and be in your set and stuff like that, because that can happen. But now they got to be on a leash. So
I see.
just in case. you reached out again about that. But you feel how you feel. I'm not here to make you love dogs. It's
That
okay.
lady probably not gonna call me again. That lady.
That is so
Oh.
funny. Let's see here. Yeah, more fun. All right. So let's see. Here are three more fun sketches or real life that we have. Let's see here. Okay, so here's another one. You confidently walked into the wrong event and now you're too deep in conversation to leave.
That's sketch. That gotta be sketch. That ain't real life for me. I don't really.
That's not something you just gonna be walking in to just talk to people if you don't
No,
want to be
no.
there.
And I'm gonna be late anyways. So whatever the event is, it's gonna have revealed itself by the time I got there.
You're like, no, that would not count. I'm not walking in any place confidently because I know I'm about to leave in 2 seconds. That's what's about to
Yeah.
happen. Okay, a stranger on the subway starts monologuing, and you're not sure if they're acting or just unhinged or kind of loopy.
Um,
I don't mean to describe people with met conditions like
yeah.
that way, but you know what I mean. You know
No,
what
I
I'm
do
talking
know
about.
it's
These ones hit different.
yeah. The first story that comes to mind is this dude who was mouthing to me that I was a bitch. Just for no reason. He was like, "You bitch," like from way across the train. And I was like, okay,
Oh,
like
you're making eye contact with him at
yeah,
this
that's I'm like, it can't be me. He can't be talking to me. Like he's his gaze is going past so many people on this train, and like, okay, so I'm the bitch. But then I like looked away, and then looked back, and he was like, "You a bitch," and I was like, "Wait,
oh,
he actually is talking to me."
oh
But
man.
then it got to the point where I was like, "This is just funny."
Yeah.
Because honestly, like whatever version of you of a bitch you talking about, like I am whatever like faggoty McFaggot son,
Yeah.
like gay
Yeah.
person that you think that I am, and I'm feeling myself today. So like, you right, sir.
Yeah. That
I'm
is
a
fun.
bitch.
That is so funny. I've had a very similar situation, but it didn't end that I couldn't see the comedy in it quite yet. But yeah, it was somebody that came after they made eye contact with me, and then all of a sudden they got beef with me because I just because it was one of those like gazes, like you're looking, you make accidental eye contact and you look away, and then that person thought you're like trying to fight them. It was one of
Right.
those. But
Oh
yeah, I
my
would have rather
God.
somebody just looking at me calling me a bitch for like 20 stops instead. And it was, and he made sure his lips were able.
Sir. As a matter of fact, I am.
How did you know?
How did you know?
Um, oh my god. Okay, so the last one I have is you accidentally committed to a bit for way too long, and now it's part of your personality. I feel like this is.
Baby, this is real life. This ain't no sketch. I don't know why, as middle schoolers, we lie, like tell little stupid lies and stuff like
Yeah,
that, just to like be cool or
yeah,
seem whatever. But you, this is so stupid. This is so stupid.
yeah.
You know those pictures like back in the 80s and 90s, they would have it would be like a picture of you, but then they would have like a big-headed like silhouette version of you behind that
Mm-hmm.
picture. Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody grandmother had those kinds of pictures with their
Yeah.
grandkids. I had one of those, and my dumbass friend came over and asked me like if that was my twin, like if that was another person, not me behind me. And I was like, yeah, it is. It is.
Because I know exactly like it's everybody had that. I'm mad that I never had a photo like that.
You
And
didn't have one?
some people had it with like their siblings and stuff, with the one head
Right.
going one way and the other going and the
Yeah.
stuff. But no, I've always wanted a photo like that. Like that's a classic
They got to bring
night.
that back.
Yeah, they got to.
They
That
got
is
to bring that back.
classic. If they do
Yes.
that, I'm like these. I wish I and watch as TikTok gonna be listening to me or somebody gonna be listening to me now because it's gonna pop up of how you can do those now. But yeah, man, I remember those back in the day. Those are nice. That is funny. That
Yeah, I
is
had a
that
I had a twin for a whole semester
you did. You like
because
see
people were like, "Yeah, Joseph got a twin. He live in another state." Calm
I
down.
used to wish to tell. I used to tell that lie a couple of times. I used to tell that lie. All right, so that pretty much wraps up this part of the show. All right, Joseph. So you let us know where can we find you? What are your socials? All that fun stuff. And I will be listing this also in the bio in case something doesn't come out clear, not whatnot. But we'll have it in the description. So either way, yeah, let us know.
Amazing. Yeah. You can find me on the internet just by Googling Joseph Lymous,
Oh,
Ly
yes, honey.
mouse with no E.
Uh-huh.
My handles are Jamire, Jomiray.
Okay.
And that's on Instagram and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
You can find me through that. Yeah. And
You have anything coming up? Maybe like late spring or early summer, something like that?
So I'm often doing shows down at the UCB
Okay.
and other comedy venues around. So like stuff
Yeah.
like that will be posted in my stories and on my
Okay.
socials. And this is the year that I'm working on my solo show. I've been saying
Yes.
that for a long time, but I am
Yeah.
finally like actually pitching it and trying to get some money to get in
Good
some of these
job.
theaters and
Yeah.
do a
Yeah.
show. So
I
look out for
wish,
that.
yes. And I hope to see that too, because I know I will. I mean, you
Me
were
too.
talented, gifted, aligned. Everything works out in your favor. So we're gonna see it, you guys. We're gonna see. You just look out. You follow Joseph. All right. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I
Thank you.
appreciate you so much. All right. Big thanks to Joseph for reminding us that creativity isn't always polished. Sometimes it's weird, wobbly, and full of detours. And that's exactly where the magic is. If you've enjoyed this podcast, make sure to follow Undefining the Pod on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And you can find us on Instagram at Undefining Podcast for updates, clips, and new episodes every Thursday, as well as buy me a coffee. If you're on there, make sure you share with some friends, make sure you share with your family. Basically force it on them if you can, because they need this. Tell them it's healing. Tell us something that they will heal from. I don't know. Just make up something, all right? But let's get some more people tuned in, all right? With that being said, we'll see you next time. And until then, stay curious, stay open, and keep undefining. Undefining.